So yeah, there's loads of ways to skin a cat on this particular situation, and you want something that's fairly repeatable, and you also want something that doesn't require a lot of like specialist tools, in my experience, because if you kind of I get hit by a bus, or I'm a consultant really, so my aim is to hand over as much as the work as I can back to the client so they can run it for themselves. And so if I'm running a specific a SPSS add-in that they need to pay £1,000 a year for, they're going to be a bit grumpy about about that just to process the thing. And then there's the other extreme, is that if you are kind of a bit more of a kind of familiar with coding, and so you may go, oh, I'll write a Python script where it will just kind of run it and it's done straight away, and that's great. But the problem with Python is that you need to have the environment set up, and then you have to have the infrastructure, and then handing over a Python script to a client who's not familiar with Python, it's just going to be a real pain. So it's kind of, how do we fix this kind of annoying but fairly regular situation? And so one of the things which I've kind of found is this concept called, or a piece of technology called DuckDB. So I don't know if anyone has heard of it. Just a quick kind of nod or a thumbs up if you've heard of DuckDB. Cool. And so DuckDB is this new kind of very lightweight database technology. And what they've also been able to do is allow you to actually run it within a web page without downloading anything. And so you kind of just go, I want to run this using DuckDB. Behind the scenes, it will download this small package. But then all of the data will stay on your own computer. So if you're then kind of going, oh, my client's just sent me a list of highly sensitive email addresses or contacts and I need to process it, you don't want to upload that to a site which you don't know where it's going. So you still want it on your machine. So yeah, there's this technology called DuckDB. And so what I'm going to show you is an example where I vibe coded that technology into a web page. And so you can then download that web page. You can put that web page wherever you like. You can run it off your phone. You can turn your internet off and it'll still work. And you can then process your files with it. So let me just show you what it does, and then I'll share the links with you, and then we can all start to have a little play. So let me share my screen. And where are we? Okay. So here we are. Hopefully you can see that. So I've called this thing DuckPipe because it's a pipeline using ducks. And so I've kind of kept it really quite simple as much as possible. So here you would drag in your CSV file that you've got from your client. And so what I've done is that there's a nice website called Sample Files, and they give you some sample data. So I'll send you the link for this in a moment so you can follow along, but let me just show you it all first. So what I'm going to do is drag in the file that I've downloaded here, and then automatically it's gone, and then told me what columns are in that file. And I can then hit run, and it's actually what it's done, it's run this SQL script. And I don't know how many people are familiar with SQL scripts. Maybe another show of hands if you're used to using SQL. So quite a few nods and waves, so that's good. And so what it's then done, all in a kind of a few seconds, is allowed us to kind of view what is in that CSV file. So it's select star. Star is the word for kind of all. From data, so it's called the table just data, so it's nice and generic, and it's just given me the first 100 rows. So then I can run that again, and now it's just got the first 10 rows, and I can see what that looks like down here. So what's really nice about this is that it's all running purely in my browser. It's not uploading that file anywhere, and you can prove this afterwards. I don't suggest you do it straight away, but you can turn your internet off and go on airplane mode. So don't do it during the call, or we won't be able to speak to each other. And you can see that it will run itself. So it's I think it's such an important thing to do, to stress. It's that it's not sending that data anywhere. So then what you can then do is build up this SQL query to do whatever you want. So I've got a little example I prepared earlier. So let's make this a little bit bigger. So here I'm just then grabbing the ID, the name, the age, country, and salary from my table called data, but I only want the people whose ages is over 40, and I want to order it by salary in a decreasing order. So I can hit run on that, and then instantly it's run the output. And then I can just hit download, and then it will allow me to download that into a CSV file. So I'm just doing that now. And where's it gone? Too many screens. And sec. Where has it gone? Goodness. There it is. Okay, super. So now I've got my the same file that I had here, but there. So that's kind of it. That's all I wanted to kind of really show you, because it's such a nice little powerful tool. But if you want to use this in a kind of a real life environment or a repeatable way, I've added a couple of little buttons in here. So here I can actually just save that script. So I can hit save SQL, and it will save it as a separate file. Let me put that in a place where you can see it. So here it's created a little file called query SQL, and it's literally copied that text there. So if you were then going, okay, I've got my clients come and they've sent me the next file, then we can process a new file in here, put that script back in there, and then run it and export the data. So without having to do anything kind of too fancy. So that's the first thing. So what I'm going to do now is actually just share those links with you so that you can have access. So if I pop this in the chat. So hopefully you can access that. And then I will also get you the data file so you can play with the same thing. Okay, hopefully they've come through for you. So you'll see that the link is actually for a page which I've hosted, but so you can either run it directly from that page, and it will still only stay on your browser. It won't actually upload there. But if you really want to convince yourself that it is local, then you can download the actual web page from there. So hit save as, download the web page as an HTML page, and then run it. And then it will run on your machine. You don't have to follow along if you don't want to. It's fine. I won't judge. I won't be offended.
My IT's not allowing me to go into the sample files. It says it's
okay.
It's a threat.
Yeah, I've got the same. It's not, the link isn't verifying.
How can I send it to you? Don't know. I mean, actually, you could use any file. So if you do have because it will work with any CSV file. It will just mean it was harder for you to follow along with the examples, which I'm going to share.
Yeah.
So if you have or even you could just make yourself a quick CSV file with some data in it, and then you can work with that. So I'm going to carry on with a few other examples of some of the kind of the coolest stuff that you can do with this new feature. So another one which I've got here is where we're actually kind of combining some of those columns together, and it sounded like you were doing some of this, Nikki, when you explained your situation. So here I actually want to create just 4 columns, and in SQL there's this kind of double pipe which will concatenate strings together. So it looks a bit weird, but it's very kind of neat and an elegant way of joining things together. So if I just hit run, you can see what it looks like. So what it's done here is taken the name, it's then put their email address in the kind of little triangular brackets, which is typically how the to field likes it in Outlook. It's concatenated the address and putting the country on the end, and then here it's put the company and their joining date all as one string as well. So it's just an example, and I'll share all these examples afterwards as well, so don't feel you need to be kind of copying them. And then you can start to get really quite advanced, because the behind the scenes is quite a heavy lifting database engine, and you can do regular expressions in here as well. So this one is looking at pulling out the domain name from an email address and then doing a group by on that data. Now our data's only got one domain in it, so it's a bit boring, but you can see here it's pulled out the email domain example.com and then told us what the headcount is and average salaries and minimum salaries and maximum salaries. And then this is all using no Excel files, no kind of crazy formulas, no you have to kind of drag down to the bottom of the list or anything like that. It will just do everything that's in that file, and so it's a very repeatable way of doing it. Cool. So a little show of hands, who's kind of followed along or been able to download some of those things? Yay! Super. So is this useful, or am I kind of just barking up the wrong tree and I'm just a bit nerdy?
No, it's useful. I mean, obviously you're a bit nerdy, but still useful.
Yeah, it's a double-edged question.
You did phrase that was mutually exclusive, but yeah.
I should have known better in a room full of
I thought nerdy was a qualification of joining this chat. No?
Okay.
A little bit.
So good. Well, hopefully it's a little bit useful. And then what I've also done is created what's called a lite version of it. So in the lite version, you don't get all of the junk, well, not the junk, the extra kind of UI information. So here we can just kind of throw in the file and then throw in that query that we created earlier, that .sql file, and hit run and save, and then it's then quickly created the data set for us. So once you've developed your script, you can then use this lite page to then just process it quickly without getting all of the UI information. So this could be a lot more useful for, I don't know, the client who's going to run it for them, and they don't want to see what the SQL script is, and you don't want to encourage them to start playing with the SQL code. And so you could literally just share them this link here, or even just the lite.html file and email it to them. And then they can run this on their own computer and it will process the file for them. So that's there. So what we then have what I've done as well, it's a first for the ASC community, is that I created a GitHub repository for the ASC, and so all of the files that I've used to create this are available here. So if you're familiar with GitHub, then you've got all the the data there for you to use that. And then if you want to make changes to it, then please do. It's completely open source. I'm not taking any responsibility if it kind of all goes wrong as well. Classic kind of washing my hands with it. But you can then see how the actual code is written. So here's that the file here that we created. And I'll be honest, I completely vibe coded it. I knew what I wanted. I wanted something that uses this DuckDB coding. I don't know why it's taking so long to actually even open. Come on, guys. My internet's gone down or something. It can't be. I don't know.
It's because you're sharing your screen with 6-7 other people on
Yeah,
the
maybe.
Teams call.
Shouldn't be that bad.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
No, that's
and
as
it's
well.
given up.
The internet's having a coffee break as well.
Yeah.
It seems that way. Let me see if I can do it in here. But if you followed the previous sessions that we ran, there we go. Do it in this way. This is the web page that actually built up what we did. So if those of you who are familiar with website design and how web pages are created, this bit here is all just the CSS coding. I've tried to use this thing called Bootstrap, which means you don't have to customize too much. You don't need to know that, I'm just telling you. And then these are kind of the different sections of your HTML and the sections. And the kind of the nitty gritty bit is this part, which is the JavaScript, which calls the DuckDB module. So this is where it's kind of pulled that little library. And then this is the kind of small bit of code which will then run that thing for you. And that's all shared with you on this GitHub repository. And I've also got the lite one in there as well. So I can also put that in the, where are we? Lite. Share that on the chat as well. So you can see that too. So this is a really, really simple implementation of this new technology called DuckDB. And if you kind of take the idea a little bit more, you could then start to think you could just do some really quite powerful, almost like dashboards with this tool. So you load up your file, and if your file is always in the same formats where you've got, I don't know, question types or data in like respondent level data, and you want it to build a chart or summarize the data and display it in a particular way, then you can actually use this entire kind of DuckDB structure to build that up and then actually have localized analysis of your data. I have done that. I didn't want to explain that in this section because it will kind of just explode your minds kind of thing a little bit too much. But it's, if you kind of combine that kind of concept and that awareness of this technology with vibe coding, which if you watch the previous videos, you can then build some really quite powerful tools to help you with your work.
I was just thinking, and I think Natalie might have a question as well. But I was just thinking that actually, like combining it with vibe coding, I would almost come at it from a different perspective, which is like, could you replace the whole SQL thing with actually you write in natural language what tasks you want it to complete, even like write a brief, copy that in, then have that behind the scenes query Claude, have that turn into SQL by somebody by Claude itself, put that back in and then run it. So then it becomes, you know, my build on this would probably be to make it even on the face of it even less technical, like that you just describe the task as opposed to actually needing to know any of the any SQL directly. Exactly.
And there are times when I don't know, or it's quite a challenging piece of SQL that you need to write. So my knowledge of regular expressions is just terrible. But Claude is really good at regular expressions. So if you're trying to get, I want the third character after this particular sentence and not this one, if you describe that to Claude, it'll go, oh, you just do this. And it's just like, phew, that would have taken me half an hour to figure out. And then you can quickly see whether it's working and go with that. In the same way, Claude knows DuckDB SQL because it's very similar to normal SQL language. And so it will create this SQL for you if you describe what you need. So if you took the example, I've got these, where's the actual website gone? If you said, I've got these columns in my data, you almost don't need to tell them the actual raw data that's within it. I've got these data, I want to do this with my data. Can you write me a script? And then it will populate this for you. And so you can kind of vibe code it, but at least you've then got that script that you can then reuse again and again.
Yeah.
I think that it's that, I hate the cliche of like human in the loop, but it's good to know what it's actually doing, and it's good to then for us as kind of analysts to know what it is doing. Yes, Natalie, you have a question.
Yes. So sorry, because I didn't watch the previous video and I wasn't there the last time.
Okay.
So maybe a newbie question. So you used Claude, which did the script for you, and you just copied and pasted, or did it require more skills than just using Claude? And because I'm rubbish at SQL, So for example,
the more you experience it, you know whether it's doing it right. But
Okay.
I found it's working more often first time than not.
Okay.
So if you do watch the previous videos, you'll see how I use something called Visual Studio Code, which is kind of what the programmers use, the official proper programmers, and with that you can embed Claude code within it. Other AIs are available, and you can get it to kind of talk to. Well, I'll show you what I used. I'll show you the actual script that I kind of used to pull this together.
Sorry, Visual Studio, is it the same as the one we use for R?
I don't know. It might
Yes.
look similar. So hopefully you can see my screen here. So this was my opening prompt. I'd like to create a simple DuckDB-Wasm, is the WebAssembly thing, web page that where the user can point to a CSV file on their PC and a SQL script, and they can press run, preview the data, and then download it. It's important that it's all in browser. The product's called DuckPipe. And so it then literally built it for the first time without doing anything. So it's because it's actually a very small bit of code that it's doing. And so it built it for the first time. It said, right, I've done that, and these are the features that I've created for you. And then I asked it, can you give me the ability to save it, save the SQL script that I've created? And then it goes on. And then I kind of refined it. I didn't write a line of code for that little tool that you saw there. My JavaScript knowledge is not very good. I'm more of an SQL and Python kind of guy. And so I'm really leaning on Claude for this.
Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you.
It's terrifying, but it is interesting. Yeah. Nikki, yes, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm not sure how relevant it is to the vibe coding bit. And I think there was one session I missed as well. But sort of building a bit, going back to what Neil was saying, I've been using a lot of MML, Claude type things to achieve tasks or write processes in languages I'm not super good at. What are the advantages of using SQL over Python in this scenario? Could you equally have a Python code write? I mean, I would use Claude to write the Python and just present my client with a function button. I think.
Yeah, so you can. It's how you then share it. So the power of this little technology here is that I can email you the web page as a file, and then you can run it as a program. Whilst
But
if
the
you
client
had,
still needs to know the SQL code if they want to do something.
yeah, they would. But I suppose you could vibe code the SQL actually embedded within the HTML page that you do, so they don't even see the HTML at all.
Right. Oh,
Sorry, they don't see the SQL at all. Yeah.
Right. So that at that point, my question becomes relevant. What is not relevant to the session, but just in general? What's the advantage of using SQL over Python if you're going to hide that element of it and just use vibe coding to create a background function?
Yeah, sure. So because this is, if you're doing data analysis, DuckDB is just so fast at it, and it's really quick. So from a speed point of view, I've worked with files which are in the gigabytes, and it still works blindingly fast.
So it's DuckPipe that works with the SQL.
No, sorry, DuckPipe is my brand for this little product. DuckDB
Right.
is the technology.
Sorry,
That's
DuckDB.
all right. No. I'm throwing around the word duck quite a lot. So you could do it in Python, but it's then how do you share that Python function with your client? So they would then need a Python environment set up on their machine. Now, I think there is a Python in browser concept that you could use, but I've not used it. And it's a bit more complicated. What's so lovely about this is so simple. You just open the web page, put the script in, press go, done.
I'm with you now. I'm with you.
And like I said before, you could vibe code actually having this script embedded. So all they do is just drop the file in and it pulls out the answer.
And they don't
Every
need
time.
any other apps or.
No, they just need a browser.
So, yeah. Okay.
Um,
I'm with you.
Is there another advantage to that in the fact that I would feel that, I don't know, for me, I feel like more people know SQL than Python, like the basics of SQL. I think so. If they might have someone in the team that could at least understand the code, where Python, I'm not so sure as many people know that. I don't know. That's my feeling, but
yeah.
I think that might be a generational thing. So, I think I might be wrong, but I reckon as the younger generations come up, there might be more Python than SQL, maybe.
Yeah.
It's kind of
just that
horses,
all the
really.
databases in websites and stuff seem to be built on SQL code. So, well, I mean, but that could be because they're older databases and things. But so that's why I just wondered whether that might be.
Yeah. And then there is another one. So with this technology, of course, it's open source. So some people are kind of gone to the next 100 miles in a direction. So let me show you what this one looks like. So in this example, someone's taken the concept of DuckDB technology and they've built a lot more of a kind of almost like database interface where they've gone the next level. So in this one, we can, let's say I'm going to take this data set and add it in, and then what's another one? Let's put this one in as well. And so you can then start to build up. Select star from DuckPipe results. And they put like a nice interface on it, much better than the one we had. And so this again is running completely in the browser, but here we can then start to join other tables together. So if you're again familiar with using SQL and doing kind of fairly complex things, you can then start to, well, I want to join that with my other data. So join, let's do cross join with large data set. Oh, look, it's giving me the, why is that not working? Let's see what happens now. So then it's cross-join those two tables together. I mean, it makes no sense at all, but you can get the idea that you can actually start to build up really quite elaborate queries that, again, you can just keep running again and again, and it's all completely localized to your browser. So when you've got that challenge of, I wish I just had some SQL I could run on this kind of CSV file because I know how to use that, and in using your SQL to be a lot faster, then that option is now available to you. So this is something called SQL Rooms. If you actually look at their website, again, you can download what I'm showing you here as a from their GitHub page and download it all. But you can see some of the examples that they created. So this is the SQL editor that I've just demonstrated. This one is the AI powered. This is what you were talking about, Neil, where they've kind of taken it to that next level where they've linked it with AI, and so you can then start to chat with your data. But here you need your API key because they don't want to pay for it, which is understandable. Then this one's using mapping. So again, if you kind of start to think, oh, there's some open source mapping software that we could actually pass the DuckDB's results into, then you can actually start to do some really kind of complex and crazy stuff. So yeah, again, it's just the purpose of this session really is just to kind of go, wow, there's so much more out there than just a spreadsheet. So hopefully I'm ticking that box for you. Any other questions?